Hello, welcome to another segment of Your Right to Know, Our Pleasure to Tell. I am Malika Muffet. In the last few conversations, we've been speaking with ministers and senators under the United Progressive Party government. We've been highlighting the achievements from 2004 to 2014. I trust that you've been well educated over the past few evenings. Throughout our conversation, we encourage you to pay keen attention and feel proud of every single achievement. So stay tuned to this session of Your Right to Know, Our Pleasure to Tell. Hello. Speaking with us today is Senator Mervyn Richards. He is the Minister of State with responsibilities of sports, the National School Meals, and the Boys Training School. Welcome to our program today, Mr. Richards.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing?
Fine at the moment.
Well, I want us to jump into our conversation because it's a very hot season. We are in the election season in the month of May and things are heating up. How are you feeling right now?
Very confident.
Yes.
My canvassing out there in the community has been very, very good.
Yes.
I have a lot of support, and we're doing extremely well. Going from house to house, meeting people, finding out their concerns and their needs, and we're working on them.
Okay. For those at home listening and the viewing audience, let us talk a little bit about you personally so that they can get more familiar with you. It's the first time running. Can you give a little bit about your background and your decision in running for 2014 elections?
Oh, sure. I was born in the Ovals community, and I always make the little humor about two kinds of people who are from Antigua. Those who are from the Ovals community and those who wish they were from Ovals. I say this because it's a small community where we thrive on competing very hard. Yeah. And by the way, the 5 national heroes are from that particular area.
Okay.
So we have a lot of rich history there. As a matter of fact, it was the first, I believe, middle-class society. There were a lot of government workers who lived in that community. Because my father was a prison officer. And in those days, my mom, she was a housewife, taking care of the family. And I grew up in a sporting family because my father played for Antigua and Barbuda. He also played for the Leeward Islands, and so did my other brothers. Okay. So we grew up playing a lot of sports, and I love the community, and a community that I'm happy to be representing at this time under the United Progressive Party banner. And I do have a lot of interest because my mom, she still lives in that community. She's 90 years old, and okay. I want to see better representation in that particular area.
Okay. The decision to run, what was the contributing factor for you to decide to run for 2014?
This might come a little strange to a lot of people, but I really didn't like, I didn't want the politics, to be quite honest. I did follow a bit of politics around the world, around the Caribbean, but I didn't see myself as a politician. And it was back in 2009 when some of the people from the community, well, it might be the majority of the United Progressive Party constituents who, you know, based on my affiliation with that community, because when I was the president of the Viv Richards Overs Action Committee group, that was a community group which, through the assistance of USAID, we were able to get a basketball court in the area where we used to play cricket. Okay. And perhaps the way that I treated people within the community, always trying to assist people, and you know, visiting my mom very often and making sure that she's okay. And they approached me and said, you know, Merv, people like you, we would like to run, you know, to represent this community. They didn't have very good to say about my opponent, really, to be honest. And it took me quite some time before I decided that they were serious.
Yes.
And so I decided to say, well, look, if you think that I can go and do a good job in representing the community, I offer myself. And I consider it also to be a higher level of national duty.
Okay. So you've joined the United Progressive Party government to ensure a win for 2014. What are some of the achievements under your belt and also for the United Progressive Party government?
Well, I think, first of all, I think the relationship that we've established with the Cubans in developing our areas, a lot of areas, especially in the area of sports, and that is still going today, where we have, through an agreement between both countries to have professionals from that particular area in infrastructure, also in medical care, healthcare services, and most importantly in sports. And I can safely say that it was a Cuban who made Antigua and Barbuda a winner in the CARICOM game in the long jump. So it has proven to be a success, and that's one of the things that I believe was very good.
Okay.
Also, the establishment of a national sailing academy, because you know, it was one time a sport that was considered, sailing, to be, you know, for the expatriate and,
Yes.
and also for white rich persons.
Yes.
But I think in 2009, the United Progressive Party, in their manifesto, indicated that they would like more locals to be more involved in sailing. And so I'm happy to report that that has been accomplished. There is now a National Sailing Academy where over 150 students are given scholarships.
Okay.
And it's very similar to hockey sort of thing. You know, you have to learn actually to skate before you can actually hit that puck. So through the National Sailing Academy, we've been able to also sponsor 150 young persons at least to learn to swim.
Okay.
And
Excellent.
we are surrounded, of course, by water. We have 365 beaches.
Yes.
And it said that it's one for each day of the year. And when it's a leap year, we always find an extra one.
I love that. Let's talk a little bit more about the three individuals who were knighted by the Queen. That's a very significant achievement, and your brother was one of those individuals. I know that you care to share a little bit about that.
No, Viv was, he was knighted before, but the other
No,
three...
in the sense of knighting, not in the last three.
Right.
Yes.
Right, but it just, I think it's something deserving for they have really demonstrated that it doesn't matter the size of the country. It doesn't determine exactly how far they can go. It's just based on the attitude which determine the altitude.
Okay.
And they have not only served Antigua and Barbuda, but the Caribbean and has made an indelible mark on the world. And I think it's really deserving. But it also showed that regardless of size of country, you know, and it didn't matter where you came from, whether you were rich or poor, is exactly what is, you know, what you wanted in life, and you go after it, and you work hard for it, and they did that. And I think it was very nice for my government to ensure that they united these three outstanding sportsmen.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about your constituency work that you've been doing, if you can expand a little bit on that, because I think that you would have more work to do than your opponent, since this is your first run for your seat.
Well, first of all, for me to come with a plan is much more than my opponent. He has no plan whatsoever, to be quite honest, no plan whatsoever. I have always stated that, yes, we are from the same community. His mother and my mother were very, very close friends. They were members of the Mothers' Union in the Anglican Church. And I think that's as far as where the similarity ends. We are from the same community. He has, of course, a lot of people would not agree with me if I said that he means well. Okay. But I think sometimes we try to do the things that are supposed to be good, but somehow we get sidetracked. You know, a lot of people won't agree with me if I said he meant well, but he has done well in the community, but he hasn't done well for the community.
Okay.
He has been there for quite some time, and as I mentioned before, of the 5 national heroes, we have a rich history, and we have a lot of big shoes, so to fill.
Yes.
Right? And so we have to make sure that we keep that community, the kind of community that it can be. And I think he's failed miserably in that particular area. I still have an interest in the community, even before the politics, right? As I mentioned earlier, I was responsible for the basketball court there because it was an area where we used to play cricket. But after we got big, the area became pretty small, and it could only accommodate a basketball court. And some of the programs that I had when I was in that Ovals community was one for young people, where they would do some sort of community service for some of the senior persons in the community, to make errands, to clean their surroundings, and for the young girls within that particular group to braid hairs, to wash dishes for these people, and to also make errands. And that was working pretty well. And I'm very proud of that particular program, which I still would like to see in the next 5 years when I'm elected to continue.
Okay. What are some of the plans that you have for the community? Because you're going up against an individual that you said meant well.
But he just hasn't done well, yes, yeah.
I've just quoted, he meant well. What are some of the things that you have on the table that, for those who are viewing right now can be in tune, or to be, encouraged to come and put that X next to Merv to serve?
Yes,
What's
well, the thing about it is that my program is not one that will take too much of financial resources itself. It depends on people.
Okay.
I want to see us get back to the way we were before, when someone was in need, that everybody come together in making sure that we satisfy that need for the person who may not be in a position to help themselves.
Okay.
And so I am, at the moment, collecting data of all the skilled persons within my community, whether it be carpenters, masons, electricians, etc. For persons within the community who don't have the financial resources to do the little repairs on their homes, to do any little thing, that I can look within that data system and call these people out. Come together in 1 day or 2 days to see how best we can accomplish satisfying that particular person in need. That's one of the programs I have. And I also have another program of instead of, a lot of people coming to me as a minister, or as the representative for anything personal. When I say personal, in the sense of for the community itself, that of a street light or something in front of them that needs to be lit, or perhaps the road in front of them that needs to be repaired, right? I wish to form, persons within the community who are willing to serve and to see their community become, better. And to come to me with those concerns in terms of priority, what is needed for the community. And I think once they have that sort of interest invested in their community, they take more pride in their community. I will still make myself available to each and every one of the constituents, right? But I want to make sure that things to be done in the community is not something that I would decide or one person decide, but a group of individuals from the community, would decide exactly what is needed for the community. Okay.
What are some of the feedback that you've been getting since you've been campaigning in your constituency?
Well, it's very negative on the part of the representation. And I've talked to a lot of people within the community of the chance now. There is that chance now for them to be a part of history, a part of something good, a part of being winners, right? They have, in the last couple of years, elected someone who have won their seat, but the community lost on a lot of programs and a lot of things. This time around, they can win with Mervyn, right? And we all can win by coming together and making sure that we, make the community of St. John City South a better community.
Okay. You've recently been promoted to Minister of Sports. What from then to now have been your evaluation with your involvement and also the advancement for the United Progressive Party government?
Well, I've been in sports for quite a long time. Before I was a minister, I was also the director of sports. I was also a coach within the system. And one of the things that I must say was that an MOU that was signed with a lot of organizations or community groups or associations for the management of these community fields. And since we have done that, we have seen an increase in participation. We have seen a more interest vested in the field itself, in the venue. And I believe that there's still quite a lot that can be done in those areas to even bring them to a minimum standard of maybe change rooms, seating to accommodate persons who are coming to view, games. And it sort of keep, well, what it does, it gives the people something to look forward within their community.
Okay.
So instead of that team within that community going to another area that is more developed, at least if they can work and develop their own field within their community, at least you will have people coming from outside coming in and make an exchange. So that is how a common ground of people meeting together and discussing things too while you're watching sports.
Okay. What are some of the reception that you're getting within the Ministry of Sports and the effect of this new talk about sports tourism? I think that's a new medium that we're focusing on, and I think the Ministry of Sports too is focusing on sports tourism. What is the reception that you're getting about that?
Oh, that is fine. We from the Ministry of Sports, we have been working with the Ministry of Tourism. And even though that department is in the Ministry of Tourism, which I don't think it's the right place for it. It should be in the Ministry of Sports, but somehow we're able to, to fuse our, all our resources and coming together with the Ministry of Tourism to ensure that we have a venue that is capable of hosting persons and to also invite teams. Now, we do have quite a bit that come, of the teams, the young school teams that come out of England.
Okay.
And they come through every summer. And because of our rich sporting, especially in the area of cricket,
Yes.
we have a lot of teams that pass through here. Somehow, we have been able to even move from a central point of maybe at the Sir Vivian Stadium or the Antigua Recreation Grounds where they used to play before, But we take them out into the country so they're able to see outside of the sporting event the beauty of Antigua and Barbuda. And that has been working tremendously. That is something that we also need to improve on with some of the facilities to ensure that, we have more than 3 or 4, at least, minimum standards of facilities to accommodate these people when they come.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the National Youth Policy.
Well, that's not necessarily from my department. It's from the youth department, which is managed by Ms. Clean Athel, who is doing a wonderful job. And we do work together, on this policy. And I think it was a good thing to make sure that at least that was passed, which it did. It went to cabinet and it was approved, and it's now into effect. And that program's been working pretty well. As a matter of fact, we do nominate persons from the Ministry of Sports in that particular area. And we see a lot of young business people who are making their mark, on an island-wide basis and also in the Caribbean and expanding their, So that has been a very successful program, and we support it quite a bit. And I certainly wish Ms. Clean Athel all the best. And we work. She's not only a director of sports; she's also a constituent. So and she would be one of the persons that I would also use within the community for advice on things going forward from the community.
Okay. We're upon elections, 2014 elections. I want us to talk a little bit more about voting for you, because those who are listening, those who are watching, for this segment of Your Right to Know, Our Pleasure to Tell, what do you think that the people of Antigua and Barbuda need to know before they make that decision on election day?
Well, my background is one of discipline. As I mentioned earlier, my father was a prison officer, a very strong, forceful person, which had early influence on myself and Viv's and all our brothers' life. He was one who told us really to be proud for what you stand for and be careful for what you fall for. And that has always been in the back of my mind. He died in August of 1993, but still, whenever I'm being approached by persons who want to lead me into an area which is not very comfortable, that comes up very often. And as I said, it has shaped our lives. And Viv, from time to time, when he heard I was going to run for politics, he said, "Are you sure you know what you're getting into?" I said, "Well, it's a different kind of politics. As people now want to put me there to represent them." And he says, "Well, all right, but remember, we're proud." And he was there not only in support, but also to remind me of the things that we grew up to appreciate, and that came from our parents. Now, our mother, she's a God sent us, like an angel on earth. She would find herself in the kitchen for most of the days. I mean, and it's only our father she had to look about. And the reason for that was she always cooked a little extra for someone who may not be in a position to have something, that if they stop by, that she would be in a position to offer them something. I mean, I saw that from an early age. When I got a little older, I understood exactly what she was doing.
Yeah.
And then she said, "Merv, and Viv, you got to understand this, that, even though we don't have much, and we do have a little, right? If you give that little, a little of your little, to someone who has nothing, they would also have a little, and we have a little." And I have grown believing that. And my life is all shaped around those beliefs, those early influence. And I just want to assure the people of St. John City South, right? I know a lot of people think that politics is a corrupt thing. I have seen a lot of corruption in constituents also. So we all corrupt, but we have an opportunity to straighten that. And it can only happen once we keep, and I call it the 3H.
Yes.
3H. Once we keep our head, our hands, and our heart clean, and the people benefit, that's when politics work.
I want us to talk a little bit about how you came about that slogan, "Merv to serve."
Well, at first I came to win with Mervyn.
Okay.
Because, as I mentioned earlier, that my opponent won his seat, but the people lost. The people of St. John City South. It's time for them to be on the winning side. And so I wanted to establish myself that they can win with Mervyn.
Okay.
Right? In case the impossible happens and I lose, I think they will still win with Mervyn.
Yes.
Right? So that was the whole concept behind the win with Mervyn, first of all. And then after canvassing and the kind of support that I'm getting from the community, right, I said, I've already established a win with Mervyn. Now, after the win with Mervyn, it's now Merv to serve. And that idea came from Auntie Esther. She had just gotten back from the States, and she says, "Merv, I like the win with Mervyn, but you better with Merv to serve, because you have always been serving." I said, "Look, I kind of like that." And I jumped in it. And if Auntie Esther is listening, I want to thank her very much for that.
Thank you, Auntie Esther.
Thank you very much, Auntie Esther. And it's working pretty well, because that's exactly what I'm in it, to do.
To serve.
Is to serve.
Yes.
And it just happened to rhyme with Merv.
Merv to serve.
That's
You
right.
spoke a little bit earlier about your father being a prison officer. One of the major things that Antigua and Barbuda has been battling is crime and crime fighting. You're up to represent St. John City South. How will you, or what are you bringing to the table to show that you will stand for crime? In a sense, you're standing against crime. Sorry, not to support crime.
Well, it's pretty strange that you should ask me the question because there's nobody within this country has made more money off crime than my opponent.
Okay.
He seemed to be very good at that, and that is one thing that I can perhaps say. He is a good defense lawyer in the sense that he represents rapists, he represents murderers, thieves, right, and the like. They always find him. You understand what I'm saying? Now he going through law school and knowing the whole fact that one is innocent until proven guilty, and everyone has a right to a free trial.
Yes.
I know about all those things, right? But I think the conflict comes up when he represents these people and they don't get off because of innocence, but because of some sort of technicality.
Yes.
And then when he comes to be in the court, and as the representative of St. John City South, which the police stations, the two police stations fall under him, the St. John City police station in Newgate Street and also the one on American Road. And he comes to fight against them in the court. Now, he is a lawmaker, right? And he's assisting people who break the law. I find that pretty strange. And I think that in some other place, I mean, that's a no-no. I will tell you a little story that I heard about a man who was in the Ministry of Education in Israel, and his responsibility was to build 15 schools within a borough or, in Israel.
Yes.
And after, everything was budgeted for and the funds were made available for do so. And after building 14 of those schools, right, they realized, look, we over budgeted. It's only 14 we really needed, but we have an extra one. Anyhow, since that's your responsibility, the Lord said that he can build that wherever he determines once he uses discretion.
The 15th house.
The 15th one.
Okay.
Right? That's what the law says, that he can build it according to his discretion any way he wants to.
Okay.
He decided to build it somewhere close to where he lived.
Okay.
And the people says, oh, no, you can't do that. So that's how you use your discretion? Building a school near where you live? No, you have to resign. No, I'm making that point to show you of something as simple as that, where he had the right to use his discretion to build a school, the 15th school, wherever he wanted to, right? But the people thought it was wrong for him to even build it close to him. Yeah. And he had to resign for something like that. No, I mean, the latest development from my opponent is one to suggest that, he should have resigned. But I don't want him to resign, to tell you the truth, because I don't want him to cheat me out of this victory, our victory. I don't want him to cheat me out of the St. John City South community victory, right? But I am just hopeful that law will prevail and justice will happen. That's all I can say on that particular matter.
For this segment of Your Right to Know, Our Pleasure to Tell, I'm sure every question that I've asked has been your pleasure to answer them.
Certainly.
Is there anything that you'd like to add that I have not asked as yet and you would want your viewing and listening audience of St. John City South to know?
Well, since you mentioned that word fact, right, my appeal is to our listeners, right, to check the facts out for themselves.
Yes.
Right, there is this notion that the United Progressive Party has not done anything, and the last time I checked, we were 257. Yes, I might admit and agree with persons who believe that our PRO has been very, very poor.
Yes.
But somehow it tells you about the politics in Antigua and Barbuda, right? That once you do something, that you have to boast and to tell people you did it. But if you feel it, it's there.
Yes.
You know it's done by whomever.
Yes.
Right? I don't want to be one to take credit for anything at all. I want the people to benefit. And once they benefit, I don't care who gets the credit.
Yes.
And I want to assure them that the United Progressive Party is the party of choice. They have no other party that they can put their support behind except the United Progressive Party, who have looked after young people, given them scholarships, the National School Meals Program to provide healthy, nutritious meals for the young people and the parents who can't afford to send their kids to school with a good meal, right? And also the scholarships program that has been offered to a lot of people, young people, to ensure that this country stay on the right track and that they can come back and make their contribution in whatever field that they want to. And it doesn't matter which side they're on, we are empowering young people to be better citizens.
Yes.
All right, and to help themselves and to make their family proud and to take care of their family, and by extension, to be good citizens of Antigua and Barbuda. And I just want to let them know that with the United Progressive Party, it's a united people, and we, thy sons and daughters, stand for them.
Yes.
And we have always put people first, always put people first. And we will continue to do so in spite of everything. Even though there's a global crisis, and there are some people who believe that Antigua is in a vacuum, that a global crisis should not affect us. It affects persons and countries with far more resources than Antigua and Barbuda.
Yeah.
But yet we have been able to keep our social programs. We didn't lay anybody off. Yes, things are tough and difficult, and I believe that we have overcome those hurdles. Now we're on that road and we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and we cannot afford to go back. So United Progressive Party is the party who will look after Antigua and Barbuda and take us onto the road of development in the next 5 years and beyond.
Win with Mervyn. Merv to serve.
To serve.
I remember off camera you give me one word, I can use it?
Sure. And after that, everybody will be marvelous.
Marvelous. I want to thank you for today's interview.
It has been my pleasure, my dear.
It definitely was marvelous. It's a nice word to use. We should use it more often.
Yes. Well, you have my permission.
I do.
But anybody else out there listening,
Yes.
They got to get some copyrights, okay?
So thank you so much for spending some time with us today on another segment of Your Right to Know, Our Pleasure to Tell. For those at home listening, our viewing and listening audience, you just have heard from our Senator, Mervyn Richards, and he is the Minister of State with the responsibilities of sports, the National School Meals Program, and the Boys Training School. Again, stay tuned for another session of Your Right to Know, Our Pleasure to Tell. I am Malika Moffat.